Good evening and welcome. I'm Roy Blitzer, and our show is Ask Dr. Business. The purpose of our time together is to give you information and insight that will help make your work world a little more satisfying. The desired outcome is you'll take the information and the advice that comes and have a happy and more rewarding life on the job. We are closing down this topic of jobs that require travel. This is the last in a series that we've been running for a few months, and I'm very fortunate to have as my guest Eric Hammonds. He is a management consultant with a specialty in process improvement and works with a company called Point B, a boutique consulting firm. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you.
I'd like you to begin, if you would, by telling our audience exactly what your background is, where you went to school and studied, and how long you have been traveling on the job.
Interesting. Yeah. So my background, so I grew up in Texas a little bit. I've always traveled. My family, we moved about every 4 or 5 years. So it's kind of been a way of life. As soon as I graduated from Texas State University, undergrad, I got a job as a consultant. And I was living in Atlanta, Georgia. And my first project was in Sacramento, California.
So you've been doing this for how many years?
Oh, gosh, 20-ish.
Wow. By the way, I should tell everybody when I give you the phone number to call Eric, which is 650-856-1491, that he has been living in Phoenix, Arizona with his family and traveling to a consulting assignment right here in Palo Alto.
That's correct.
So he is on the road an awful lot, and just acknowledge that he's been doing this for 20 years. Why don't you tell our group what your typical week is like, travel-wise?
Sure. So it depends on the client. Sometimes I need to be at the client Monday through Fridays. Other times I don't, Monday through Thursdays, what have you. This client, I am on site Tuesday through Thursday. So Monday I work from home, very busy day. My wife also works from home. So around...
Do you fight over the computer, or each one has one?
So yeah, she has her desk and I have mine. So we can keep our desk as messy as we want. We close down about 4:35 and have dinner and play with the kids, and then Monday by 7:30 I'm headed out to the airport.
Does she still take you to the airport? You take the taxi or Uber?
Yeah, no, we stopped that a while ago.
I was hoping I wasn't
She used to take me to the airport.
Yes, mine did too in the early years.
Yeah, we've been married for quite some time. So I'm at work by 7:30 on Tuesday morning, and I work until Thursday around 4 and go back to the airport and work all day Friday from Phoenix.
Wow. Now, you had mentioned that this particular engagement was the same time zone, etc.
Yes.
Talk about when you had an assignment that you had to travel cross country. What was that like? What was your routine then?
So I had an assignment in Virginia, and I was there every week. Had to be there Monday morning, so family time is important. So I would leave Sunday night on a red eye and take
You must have been significantly younger. Did you? I hope you didn't schedule any early morning meetings on Monday.
Sometimes, but I was able to do it. I don't know how, sleep on the plane and wake up.
This is before Ambien, probably.
Yeah, I've never tried Ambien.
So anyway, so you took the red eye, got there, then what?
So I would get my connection, wake up and be, by the time I did the puddle hopper from Charlotte to Richmond, I was ready to go and be in the office by 9:30, 10 o'clock.
And where did you stay when you were in Virginia?
Um, Usually Marriott's.
And now you're in a residence inn?
I am.
Did they give you the same room each time?
Not each time, but they allow me to keep my suitcase there, and it's a great staff, and they treat me well.
When we were in our prep time, I'm not sure our viewers know that they provide you with utensils and cooking.
Yes, yes. So the Residence Inn, it has a little kitchenette and utensils, so I can cook there and keep myself eating healthy. It works well.
Okay, so talk a little bit about what I would call the travel issues that you have to deal with. First of all, is you need to pack your suitcase. Can you leave things there? Can you leave a
I can.
So what would you typically I'm sure let me ask, do you check or overhead?
Just overhead. Yeah. Yes.
So what would your typical suitcase have?
Really just my computer, and maybe I'll fold a couple of pair of pants and a shirt in there if I need to replenish. But
You keep a sport jacket at your office at the
I do keep a sports jacket at the office, and in the hotel I have my the toiletries, and you drop my stuff off at the cleaners, so it's ready for me Monday.
I'm afraid to ask this. Do you rent a car each time? Or does someone pick you up?
I do rent a car. Yes.
They must know you at all these vendors.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Can you get a volume discount?
No.
No, you can't negotiate like you would if you were in a hotel. If you were in a hotel rather than a residence inn, you can basically say, I'm going to be here a month,
Yeah.
and they'll give you a...
The hotels will negotiate. They do,
Good.
but the rental cars don't.
They don't care
They
how
don't
many
really care.
times.
I don't think they care.
Okay, so you pack very little.
Yes.
Have you ever lost a suitcase? I guess if you carry it on, you probably don't.
Well, I have lost. I've had to check before in other projects where I've had to a different travel schedule, and there was a time when I lost a suitcase, so I just had to go to Walmart and buy a
Buy a
couple
whole
of.
new thing.
Yeah.
Well, I want to remind everybody that I'm here with Eric Hammonds on our topic, jobs that require travel. I want to encourage you to please call in. This fellow has got an amazingly, I would say, energetic profile by commuting from Phoenix to a job here in Menlo Park. The phone number is 650-856-1491. Talk a little bit about the issues at home. We prepared a little bit about you have a 10-year-old son,
I do.
so he knows you're gone.
Yes.
Your daughter's a little bit younger.
My daughter's 3. I'm not sure she really cares.
Well, talk to me how you communicate with your family when you're gone, and give the audience a little bit of views on how you're a helpful dad with your homework, your child's homework. I was very impressed with that.
I try. So my wife will take pictures of the books that my son needs to read, page by page, and send them to me on the cell phone. So he will call me in the evenings and he'll read, and I'll have my phone and I'll scroll and read along with him, and I'll read a page, he reads a page. If he has any help with homework that he needs done, she'll send me the math problems or what have you, and we'll do those together at night.
The essence of enabling work, Eric. I think that's amazing. But he must realize that you're almost there.
I sometimes, yeah. And then you have technology like Skype, and so it's
Now,
fun.
would you communicate with your wife every day?
We do. We do a lot of texting, and she works a lot herself. So, a lot of times she's in the throes of things, and I'll try to call when I think things are calmed down, or she'll call maybe in the evening when she's ready to sleep.
Well, I think it's fascinating because it's almost like you're living here, except you're living as a bachelor and your family's somewhere else. Talk about your typical evenings. You had mentioned that when you first started traveling, you were eating out a lot and trying all the fancy restaurants.
Right.
But now?
Yeah. No, now I just go home and go to the gym and talk to my kids on the phone.
And make dinner?
Yeah, I'll cook a little something. I'm not much of a cook, but I'll try to.
Are you a binge TV watcher? You can't do any streaming or
No, I don't.
You haven't seen 7 years of The Wire at night each?
I don't do a lot of TV. I'll do a lot of just kind of looking up things on the internet that seem interesting, and YouTube videos about science or something.
Now, we talked a little bit about, you've been working for Point B for how many years?
5 years.
Would it be typical for you to invite some of the local people down to your hotel to socialize? Would you get invited to a client? I guess it must be very strange. Are you an introvert by
Yeah, I'm probably, yeah. Oh, yeah. So after a day of facilitating,
you're basically
I'm
all
good.
done?
I'm good. But yeah, a lot of times I'll meet people at work and we'll go hang out after work. On some projects I've really bonded with clients, and we've gone, they've invited me to their homes, and I've met their families and have dinner, at their house. So
Amazing.
people are
But
really
you must
friendly.
know the
Yeah.
Bay Area pretty well. After how many years have you been doing this? 2?
Yeah, it's been around about 2 years here, off and on. Yeah.
Well, one of the questions we talked about asking is when you decided to take a job that required travel, were you really aware of what this was? Because my experience is they say, oh, 20% travel, and it's usually significantly more than that.
Yeah, so I guess I've gone through phases, right? So when I first started traveling, it was fun and exciting, and I would always go places. And I remember one of my bosses said, it's amazing that you have friends in these cities
Everywhere.
wherever you go. Um, then I got to another phase where it just wasn't as much to do.
Fun.
Yeah, just so I kind of got bored with it and tired. Now I've gotten to a place where I use the time to, read and just kind of try to expand what I know. But and then when I'm at home, I have a 3-year-old that keeps me up and busy. So
Yes.
I think it's kind of hard to be at,
Well, one of
more
the things that when
energy.
you were talking about Virginia was jet lag and
Mhm.
the whole concept that you're way off. You
So
must
in
have managed that pretty well if you're taking red eyes all the time.
yeah. So in Virginia, I needed to be at the client on Monday,
And how
and
many years did you do that?
it's so that again was off and on, but I think just over a duration of 6 to 8 years. But like I said, off and on.
Often on you're
Yeah.
being very understanding. 6 or 8 years of that routine.
Well,
You couldn't get me into an airplane after that. I would never want to do that.
you get used to it. You
do.
do, and it's not consecutive. I mean, there's times when I work in projects in Phoenix, or when I lived in Atlanta, I was in projects in Atlanta too. So.
Well, I should ask, how did you settle in Phoenix? What chose that particular town?
Interesting. Part of it was the weather. Part of it, there was a consulting firm there in Phoenix that specialized in organization design. I was interested in that, so we actually moved from Atlanta to Phoenix. So I took that job, and that was a time when I was in Phoenix for a couple of years when I did that consulting.
Well, I want to remind everyone that we're here with Eric Hammonds, who's a management consultant with a specialty in process improvement. He works with Point B, a boutique consulting firm that specializes or has him specialize in that. And I want to really solicit some callers. I feel like the shopping network. The phone number here is 650-856-1491. Talk a little bit about the relationship at home. You had mentioned that when you first met your wife, you were very upfront and said, I have a job that travels.
I have a job that travels, and she was okay with that. I've learned little tips and tricks along the way.
I think you should pass them on.
I think those are very important to pass along. So one thing that has been helpful for she and I is communication, right? Always communicate very plainly and openly. When I leave, sometimes I'll write a note and put it on her car windshield.
Oh, that's
just to
great.
Let her know I'm thinking about her, so when she gets up in the morning, there's something there for me.
It's better than a ticket. In Palo Alto, you have to apply to park in front of your own house sometimes. So that's a
Wow.
great idea.
Yeah.
Do you think that, are you the only one of your social network friends that travels?
No, there's a few of us.
Did her dad travel?
No.
By the way, I grew up, when you talk
yeah.
about my family, my uncle and my father never traveled. If they were gone for a night, the women were just in shock. But I think you mentioned that you had a very positive model.
Yes.
In terms of moving all the time.
Yes, we moved about like every 4 or 5 years. My dad worked for Chevron in Gulf and would
But
get
when he was in the
promoted.
city, he didn't travel. He was
He would
just
go on business trips sometimes,
Got
but just
it.
your normal kind of gone for a week and not every week.
every week. Well, would you say that your employer was honest about how much the travel was? That was one of my initial.
Yes, yes. In fact, the Point B allows consultants to travel or not travel. It's really completely up to us. I chose to specialize in process improvement. So sometimes there's process improvement work in Phoenix and sometimes there's not. So I'll travel wherever the work is.
Let's talk a little bit about style, qualities. What do you think is required, personality-wise even, and skill-wise, for someone who travels as much as you do?
So airports can be stressful places. I think a quality is be like a duck and just let the water roll off your back.
You've got to be loose.
You have to be loose. You have to be calm, patient. You know,
Do
I
you
used
go
to
and get the neck massages that they have now? That sounds pretty trippy.
So actually, the San Jose airport has a little machine, a chair with the massages, so you can get
Oh,
a for
really?
I think for $2 or $3 you get a massage. So
We have a phone call. Excuse me a moment. James, this is Dr. Business. How can I help you?
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I was just wondering how Aaron already touched upon it about how Point B decides where to send consultants and how do you actually go through that process.
You may need to repeat that again. There wasn't enough clarity with the phone.
Oh, sorry. Just wondering how Point B works with Eric and other consultants to decide where they travel to and how do they work through that process to decide who goes where and for how long.
I like that question. How does the
that's a great
organization
question.
help decide?
That's a great
Great,
question.
thank you.
So I've been with Point B for 5 years. I've been traveling for 20, 21. Point B is great. So with Point B, you're able to, they give you choices. So whenever I need a project, there's 2 to 3 choices. I get to talk to the resource manager that's kind of leading that project and find out what the project's about, how much travel's involved, talk to the client, and very open about what the requirements are, and I get to choose.
Would there be, I'm going to ask the elaborative question, James, would there be a hierarchy? You've been there 5 years. Do you get the spot over someone who's there 1 year?
So like if there's a project in Hawaii, do I get to...
Yes, or perhaps Paris.
No, it's just skill and
A skill issue?
and what how the client bonds with the consultant. So
So
it's
you
really-
interview before you accept, or they
Yes.
interview you?
yes. Yes.
Okay. Do they send more than one person out?
Sometimes we do. Point B's model is kind of a lean and mean, so to speak. Just a few consultants to get the job done. But sometimes, yeah, there's more than one.
Now, would you have a colleague? Let's say two people would you get to choose the other person, or does the organization still master the assignment?
So that's a very interesting point. Yes. So if there's if I know of a need and there's another consultant that I know can do that work, definitely, yes.
I have one other question because I'm glad James brought this up. Would someone who has no family responsibilities, would they be considered, or is it it's not politically correct? Would that be a consideration?
I don't think so. I think it really is just about the skill.
Okay. Well, thank you, James. I appreciate that question coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Doctor.
Best of good luck. Take care. I think that what I learned from that question is the whole concept that you have a lot of choice in this. And
Yes.
if you didn't want to do it,
Yes.
you wouldn't. Okay, let's get back to the qualities.
Okay.
Patience.
Yes,
Being able to
patience.
let the water duct flow out. What else?
To be very communicative.
Have good communication
right,
skills,
right.
i.e., where would that come in to help?
So a lot of times when you're talking on the phone with the travel rental car or
Now,
an
do you do
airport
your
person,
own arrangements,
I
or
do.
does an admin help you?
No, I do my own.
Wow.
So a lot of times, if you have some tricky travel that you need to do, be there by a certain time. I would say more so before the web became my main mode. Just being able to be patient and communicate with folks.
Now, do you believe in the make your reservations on Tuesday nights?
It's kind of expensive, but if you have to, you can.
Okay, one of the guests we had was very methodical about getting the best deal.
Yeah.
And he felt that There were certain days of the week.
That is true. That is true. There are certain days. If you fly out, I think Wednesdays are usually good.
Really?
And also, you can fly out instead of doing a Monday through Thursday, you can kind of do a reverse. And sometimes you get a cheaper price because they feel like you're going on the weekend. So Thursday to Monday. You know
Okay, so
what I mean?
good communication. I have one more question about that. One of my colleagues who lives back east is a CEO of a company. He's now semi-retired, but he bought his tickets throughout the year. He would get his schedule. Did you ever do anything like that?
I've never been on a project where I've known what my schedule is going to be like.
So you're
that,
really
so,
on call.
Yeah.
Okay, so good communication skills, lots of patience. What else?
I think just to be, friendly, I think is helpful.
You have to be somewhat gracious, I agree.
I think that helps. Humble, right? Just to know that people are stressed and some people are not as familiar with the airport as you might be, or so there's, just to be calm, I think.
I think what you're especially kind, I think besides being patient, you have to be loose. You have to be very comfortable with ambiguity, very comfortable with the concept of things not coming out exactly
Yes.
the way you want. Do you have any wonderfully rough or horrible airport stories that you can tell us? We didn't ask and prep for that, but usually some of the travels like you must have.
Yeah, so for some reason, there was a time when I was working in Reading, Pennsylvania, and for some reason, it would always be a delay going from, I guess, where were we going? To Atlanta. I was back and forth to Atlanta. So it seemed like there was one time we decided to drive, me and my colleagues decided to drive to the next airport because it was going to take so long to get from where, I forget where we were going. But yeah, so we rented a car and drove, and we felt like we got there sooner than we would have gotten if we waited. I don't know if we really did, but it was fun.
Well, nowadays, if your plane can't make it, sometimes the airplane arranges for you to get there.
Yeah.
So someone young Turk comes to you and wants to take a job that requires travel.
Sure.
What advice would you give them?
Have
Don't
fun.
do it?
No, not at all. Not at all. Have fun. Just, make sure that your loved ones around you are okay with it. And
But you did mention your wife knew about this. She didn't take you and then find out that you'd be gone this much.
I told her ahead of time.
Okay.
Told her ahead of time. Yeah.
Now, basically you'd say the advice would take the job. What about clarifying what 20% means? My feeling as an old HR guy is they'd say it's 20% travel,
Yeah.
and some person would not realize that you're gone.
Yeah. So again, with point B, it's really my choice, and it's the position I have is 100% travel, quite frankly. So
That's right.
they got away from the whole 20%. But yeah, I've worked for other firms, and they give you a percentage of travel, and it really is just whatever they need you to do. They expect you to be able to travel most places.
Now, talk a little bit about the concept of what happens when you come home. When I traveled, re-entry was very, very difficult. The person in charge, I mean, she's got the 2 kids all the time.
That's true.
And decisions are made.
That's very true.
How do you guys resolve that?
I have so much respect for my wife. I tell you, yes. So people are different, right? So the way we do things are different, but
You're a good delegator, probably.
well, and I trust her. Right. But we again, the communication. So I think we're at a point now where we understand that our styles are different. My kid, I think he's learned that if Dad's coming home, you better clean the room. And I mean, my wife makes him clean the room, but
No,
when I come,
my kids would have a ball when I was away. What I also think is interesting is the time is different. For example, if she wants to buy a refrigerator that broke down, she can take a picture of that refrigerator,
Yeah.
give you all the particulars,
Yes.
and get your okay. In the
Yeah.
old days, you were really on your own. There's
Yeah.
nothing you
Yeah.
could do to make that happen.
I have a funny story. So just earlier this week, she called and said the refrigerator wasn't working. So I got on the internet and put in the model and Googled it and sent her a YouTube clip, and it fixed it.
Wow!
So, yeah,
all the way
we're-
from here?
So we still work as a team.
I'm very impressed with that. Talk a little bit about other people who travel, whether you find that they are the same what I would call mold as you are, or do you find that some people respond to difficulty much different?
No, I think I think most of our friends that travel have been doing it for a while, and they've gotten into a rhythm that works for them.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the future. You've been doing this for 20 some odd years.
Yes.
Is there a time where you would take your name off that Point B travel roster and try to get an engagement locally, or somewhat more less travel?
As soon as either my wife or my kids say that they've had enough, then I've had enough.
That's an interesting point. Now, do you think you will miss it?
It's interesting. So when we got married in a year or so after that, we moved to Phoenix, and I thought my travel was over. And there were times when I'd look up at the sky and see an airplane and kind of think, but no, things change, and it's just a new chapter. Don't miss it.
Well, one of the questions I asked a previous guest, and that you are my final in this series, which is a great reward for me, was whether you can do personal travel without getting anxious about getting into an airplane or packing again.
So I have a 3-year-old. So
You can't go too far, probably.
For us, personal travel can be more stressful than
Well, that's true.
the 3-year-old is. It's just hard to travel with a young child. But other than that, no, I think my wife and I, she's traveled enough with me, and we've figured.
And plus, can you
rhythm
get to, I hope your wonderful organization lets you keep the miles.
I do get to keep the miles, so that helps.
Perfect.
That helps.
Okay, we only have 1.5 minutes left, so
All right.
I wanted to ask a few more questions about what you think the future will be in terms of business travel. We now have Skype and Zoom and phone calls. Do you think there's still going to be travel, or is everything going to be done electronically?
I think there will be, and I think if flights would get a little cheaper, I think it'd be even better, because people can. So basically, I am on site when I need to facilitate Gemba, those type of things, and when I'm not, I can be virtual.
So you think it's going to continue?
I do.
Okay. Believe it or not, we only have 20 some odd seconds left.
Okay.
I want to thank you for being
Thank
a
you very
delightful
much.
guest. I want to tell my viewers that we're taking a vacation. We're not going to be on the air in August. I return on September 21st with a new topic, which is going to be part-time workers.
Awesome.
I'm going to interview people who work part-time to see if the issues that we all have as full-time employees will be the same or different. I want to thank my crew. I want to thank my
Thank you.
wonderful guest. I want to thank James for calling, and I want to shout out to everybody. Enjoy your travel. Good night.